What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is my top 10 favorite albums from 2023. Probably my top 10 most listened to albums in 2023 also, as far as new releases go. Other than the one that's at number one. I think that might not be one of the most listened to, but when we get there, you'll understand why. But it's a lot listened to. Yeah, that's all this is. I'm just going to go through them from 10 to number one, and then at the end of the list, at the end of one after number one, I'll put the list on the screen if anybody wants to keep track. I am not including re-releases or old material, so any archival stuff will not be on this list. This is brand new material. There were a couple fantastic archival releases in the past year, which I might address in another video if I have time. But anyways, this is just my top 10 favorite new release ones for 2023. All right, that's enough yapping. Oh, how does this connect to Zappa? Zappa released, the Zappa Family Trust released new albums, or the United Music Group, whatever that is, Universal Music Group. Yeah, so they also had new releases, so that's it. That's the connection. And none of these people, I don't know. All right, on to number 10. Number 10 is Nightbeat's Rajan. This is one of my favorite psych bands of the past decade or so. I'm pretty sure they've played at every single Austin psych festival I've ever been to over the course of the past years. Both the crazy ones in the fall and the awesome ones in the spring. It seems like they're always there. But this album, I think they've just, everything they've done psych-wise, they're finally doing to the best of their abilities on this album. This is very kind of late 60s, very late 60s psych sound. The band Temples from like a decade ago kind of reminds me of that sort of area of Temples. It's like a dark, moody, mysterious psych, like evil threads going in, but in like a psych nature. I think the songwriting on here is the best songwriting they've ever had. The hooks, there's actually melodic hooks. The playing is fantastic. It feels like a late 60s, early 70s psych album. And to me, that's absolutely fantastic. Kind of sounds a lot of like what King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Why does that sound weird? That they were doing back in like their early years, their first couple albums, kind of that kind of dark psyche material. So yeah, just a fantastic listen. A great live band, but I think this is the first time they've actually taken the skills that they usually bring to the live show and they've captured it on vinyl, I think, to the best of their abilities. They've almost made my top 10 list in years past with other albums, but this is the one they finally did it. Great psych. If you're into psych music, especially like a late 60s kind of hard rock, that kind of weird vibe, yeah, this is a good album. My number 10, Nightbeat's Rajan. Number 9 is Shadow's Out for Blood. I haven't been to Chile. I don't know what their music scene is like, but this is a Chilean metal band, and it sounds, and I mean this in all the best ways possible, sounds like they're still stuck in the 80s, or they're celebrating the 80s, or I don't know. This is an awesome, old school sounding metal album. It's got a dark vibe to it. It's definitely taking, not the hair metal shiny gloss, but sort of the darker new wave of British metal stuff. There's a little West Coast thrash thrown in there. There's everything you want from 80s metal. It's all here, but it doesn't sound dated as much as it sounds inspired by the 80s. It's great playing, great solos, great instrumentation, all around great vibe. And it just, I don't know, man, it's bringing back the best. No, I'm not going to say the best decade of metal. Metal's grown pretty well. But yeah, just a fantastic, fun, old school sort of a callback. I want to go to Chile and check out their metal scene now because it sounds like it's a lot of fun. And like the whole cover, I mean, if you saw the album cover, does that not remind you of like an Aussie vibe? Like this is definitely, I mean, we're not like pop Aussie or like, mainstream Aussie. We're not dropping Crazy Trains here, but it's got that vibe. It's got that sort of doomy, but not doomy new wave of, I mean, it's just really good classic metal sounding, but at the same time sounds fresh and new and fun and just, yeah. I don't know. If anybody here is watching in Chile, let me know if this band's getting the love they deserve because they're not getting it here, and they should be. But this is a fantastic album. Shadows Out for Blood. My number 9. Number 8 is Horrendous. Their ontological mysterium. They started out as a sort of a pretty much straightforward death metal band. They're still flirting with death metal, but there's proggier elements, which I take to mean they've just learned to like slow down certain bits and like let things like linger a little bit longer before they are off in a different direction. We get some typical growl vocals. We get some clean vocals dropping in every once in a while. We're kind of all over the map, you know, in the way a really good death metal band could do. But again, they're kind of slowing it down at times. They're getting a little more proggier. They're kind of letting ideas develop in a way a prog album would. Some of the things kind of remind me of early Mastodon and that sort of kind of flirting with prog metal, but not going hardcore into prog metal. I think they still got their foot heavily in a death metal camp, but it's just a great listen. It's a fun listen. Another example of a band that's just sounds like they're having an absolutely fantastic time. Yeah, I think they're local. Not local, but I think they're here out of the States, which is always want to represent some good States bands. Yeah, they're from Philly here in the States. So yeah, some really good Philly death metal, flirting with prog metal, good energy, good playing, good singing, just everything about this album. If you're into metal, I don't see why this would disappoint you. But yeah, easily my number 8, Horrendous Ontological Mysterium. Number 7 is JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown's Scaring the Hose. These artists have been on my top 10 end of the year list before. They are returning. This was a year of kind of comfort food. I think, yeah, in fact, more than half of what remains on this list have made previous top 10 lists for me. This is just, so JPEG Mafia is coming up with the beats. He's essentially the producer. Danny Brown's dropping the lines, and he's flowing and he's rapping. And Danny Brown, if you're not a Danny Brown fan, he is one of just his charisma, his personality, his albums. He's got this sort of kind of straightforward, more like I'm in a serious mode deliver. And then he's got this like cartoonish, almost like crazy like delivery. And both of them work great. Both of them are fantastic. This album, though, is JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown. It sounds like they went into the studio and they're like, let's play with every single toy we have. What samples you got? Yeah, whatever you got, let's bring it. We need some Kellis back in here? Yeah, let's drop that. Whatever you want. Danny's going crazy. JPEG Mafia is having the time of his life. A lot of the beats and the production almost sounds like JPEG came up with like something crazy and like, all right, Danny, do something with this. And so Danny just finds a way to find his like where he can insert his voice and all these crazy beats and these crazy samples and everything that, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Milkshake, we got a milkshake sample. How many, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just having fun with everything. Yeah, absolutely great album. It's so much fun. It's such a good listen. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of chaotic. It's just a really, really good time for like, yeah, awesome. Number 7, JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown, Scaring the Hose. Yeah. Number 6 is Yousef D's Black Classical Music. Yousef Days is a drummer, like a band leader. He's been putting out, I guess, he's appeared on other releases, but this is sort of his first, I think it's his first official full LP, like his coming out party, in which he's sort of running the show and leading his own band. It reminds me a lot of Kamasi Washington's The Epic from years ago, in that had been a band leader out of LA who finally had a chance to like do an album, and he came out and was like, I'm gonna drop like hours and hours of music on you. This isn't quite as epic reaching as Washington's. The tracks are all shorter. The vibe is a little more reined in, but it's just an absolutely fantastic listen. It's jazz. It's led by a drummer who knows how to play and keep things fresh and keep things interesting. Yeah, it's fun, it's inspired, it's funky. There's some like little bits and pieces of all kinds of different like jazz genres dropped in throughout the whole thing. Always just kind of with a hardcore drum presence in the best way possible. If you're a jazz fan, I think this is a must listen. Just a fun, really all over the place, really good, engaging listen from an up and coming new jazz star. But that's Yousef D's Black Classical Music. Number 5 is Billy Woods and Kenny Siegel's Maps. Both of them have been on a top 10 list for me before. This is a Billy Woods is the MC, the rapper, delivering the flow. Kenny Siegel does the beats, and Billy Woods is when they meet up. When these two work together, the backgrounds are very. They're not ambient. That's a weird word to use because it's not. There's there's percussion and there's stuff going on, but they're very atmospheric and very moody type beats. They're not club beats. And this album is sort of, I think it's been called sort of a travelogue. It's called Maps because it's all about, Billy Woods' journey, traveling, essentially being a performance artist. And yeah, I mean, his flow is great. His lyrics are great. His stories are great. He's a great storyteller. He's got a lot to say and he says it well. And the beats are always interesting and kind of unpredictable and kind of moody. It's a great one you can sit and listen to in the car when you're driving. It's a great late night chill album. It's a great just play whenever you want to. Yeah. And if you like this, like anything else Billy Woods, I think this might be Billy's third or fourth time on a top 10 list for me. Like he's just, everything he puts out is just engaging and different and intriguing. And this is, and I think he had another one with Kenny Siegel a couple years back that also made my list, the two of them together. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. Just really sort of different, sort of darker vibe, or maybe a little more melodramatic, or just a maybe more slow burn-in, something about it. But yeah, absolutely love both these guys. But yeah, that's my number 5 for the year. Billy Woods and Kenny Siegel's Maps. My number 4 is another band that's been on the top 10 list of mine many, many times in the past. Blut aus Nords. This is Disharmonium Nahab. They're pretty much kind of two Blut aus Nord type albums. They're your big, long, sprawling, epic black metal, atmospheric type, just epics, to use that word twice. And there are their ones that attack you full frontal, full dorsal, full ventral. They're just attack you. They're just vicious. They're chaotic. They feel violent, but at the same time, they're melodic and they're like, there's a core of like heart in them because it's one of the best metal bands in the world. Yeah, this is black metal at its like, this is Blut aus Nord doing their black metal attack. Like, sometimes we do things and we're calm and we take our time. No, not this time. We're just going to attack you. We're going at you, full frontal, full rear, whatever, full assault. That's it. Hold on to your chairs, put on your seatbelts. This is going to be a wild black metal ride. But we're going to do it better than anybody else does it because that's who we are. And it's a fantastic, exhilarating, thrilling, fun, headbanging. Yeah, it's a band who can pretty much do whatever they want in the genre, doing whatever they want in the genre. But in a way, simplifying it it's like almost like a back to your roots type album, but it's not because it still sounds fresh and new and on the cutting edge of metal. But at the same time, it just sounds like this is what the band can do in their sleep because it's not like a 3-part, multi-part epic. It's just really good black metal from a band that might do it better than anybody else. But yeah, that's my number 4. Blut aus Nords, Disharmonium Nahab. Number 3, Danny Brown's back on the list with Quaranta. If you saw the album cover, yeah, he's looking all serious and thoughtful. And this is Danny Brown's. I'm in my 40s. I'm still touring as a rapper. I'm looking back on my career, of the mistakes I made, the choices I made. It's got a little more serious tone. He's using his more serious rapper voice more than his weird comic book high-pitched rapper voice. But we still get the fun in here. We still get the good beats. But things are a little more mature, a little more reflective. Like, I think the very first line on the album is something like, looking back on all the shit I did in my rap days, or like the first line just is the thesis for the entire album. Him like reflecting on everything the rap life has done for him. But yeah, so no, it's just fantastic. It's your mature little Danny Brown album, and it's amazing. But yeah, that's my number 3, Danny Brown's Quaranta. Number 2 is Margo Price's Strays. I was pretty convinced this was going to be the number 1 album of the year until midway through the year, number 1 was released, and then everything changed. Margo Price is sort of a country artist, And her first album is pure Loretta Lynn, early 70s country. It's an absolutely amazing piece of music. By this point in her career, though, her country is something that like might be the starting point for some of these songs. There's a couple songs that start off a little more delicate and country-ish. But then they always go somewhere more. It kind of reminds me of a Lucinda Williams, like, or a Courtney Barnett, where like your roots might be something, but you're incorporating all these sort of indie vibes and alt rock vibes and different kind of flavors. And so there's an eclecticism about it. Yeah. The opening Bend of the Mountain is one of those that just has this momentum that just keeps going, that like, I love that song so much that I would listen to this album over and over again. The first song, Bend of the Mountain, and then the second to last song, Lydia, which is just phenomenal. To have any album that starts and ends really, really strongly, I will listen to on repeat and eventually learn to love everything in it. It's just a really fun, great singer-songwriter, flirting with country, flirting with different sort of genres. If you're a Lucinda Williams fan, I think that's who it most reminds me of. Sort of a Car Wheels type vibe. You know, you got country roots, but everything else, really, it's a lot more than just that. Easily the album I've listened to the most this past year, but it's not number one because number one I couldn't physically listen to more than any. You'll know why once you see what it is. And it came out halfway through the year, so this one already had a huge head start. But yeah, fantastic album. And if you listen to it and like country music, her other stuff is fantastic. Her debut album is amazing. But that's my number 2, Margo Price, Strays. And my number 1 album of the year is Swans, The Beggar. Michael is back. Have tickets to see them here in San Antonio in the spring. Super excited at a small club. Same club I saw them at about, I think, at the tour for The Glowing Man, it might have been. So it's been pre-COVID. Sold out show. 2.5-hour show. An hour into it, there was maybe a third of the people left, if that. I love what Swans do musically. This is a pretty epic album. It's like over 2 hours. It's got one really, really long track that is a little different than his other long tracks. It's like a 45-minute track towards the end of the album that feels like it's composed of several different songs instead of one long, just pummeling idea for 40 minutes, which is like, I think, what he excelled at on albums such as The Seer and To Be Kind. Fantastic album. Have not listened to it as much as I've listened to The Seer or To Be Kind or even Glowing Man. I think it's better than Glowing Man. Definitely, I don't think at this point I like it better than The Seer, which was a number 1 album way back in the day, or To Be Kind, which was a number 1 album for me back in the day. But it's up there. A little more melodic, a little more vocal centric. I think seems like there's more Michael in here. Seems a little more personal. Seems a little more like, even though it's still Swans and it's still daring you to just like it, and it's still, you know, taking an idea and kind of just pummeling that idea for however long any given song is, it still very much feels like a Swans album, but it also feels a little calmer maybe, or a little more, less just going into a room and coming up with crazy loud ideas and letting them develop. It feels like there's a little more thought and crafting in it, but it's still at the heart feels like a Swans album. It's still epic. It's still really long. It's still, I guess it's only 2 hours long. It's only 2 hours long. Still might try to test your patience at times, but yeah, it's longer than 2 hours, right? How long is that? No, it's just 2 hours long. Exactly. Almost exactly 2 hours long. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Easily my number 1. Have not listened to it as much as Margo Price's, only because this is like 2.5 times longer and it came out in June as opposed to January. But one day it will pass that probably. A fantastic album. My number 1, Swans, The Beggar. All right, and that's it. Those are my 10 favorite, most listened to albums of 2023. Half of those have been on previous lists before. So yeah, kind of a comfort food year in a weird way, but some really, really good stuff. All new stuff, no re-releases. I might do another video because there's one re-release that came out in 2023 that I think everybody should check out if you haven't already. But anyways, that's all I got. Let me know please, if you watch this and you have top 10 albums, let me know. I will listen to them and I will check them out. Why I'm doing this whole thing, to find new music, check out new music, turn people on to new music. So anyways, thanks for watching. I hope 2024 is as good or better for you than 2023 was. But yeah, that's what I got. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.